Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Once upon a time, in a kingdom far away, there lived a princess named Snow White. She was known across the land for her kindness, her gentle heart, and her skin as fair as freshly fallen snow. Snow White lived in a grand castle with her stepmother, the Queen. The Queen was beautiful, but her heart was cold and filled with jealousy. Each day, she would gaze into her magical mirror and ask, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" For many years the mirror answered, "You are the fairest, my queen." But as Snow White grew older, her beauty shone brighter, and the people of the kingdom spoke of her grace and goodness. One morning, the queen asked her mirror the familiar question, and to her shock, the mirror replied, "Snow White is the fairest of them all." Enraged and fearful of losing her place as the most beautiful, the queen plotted to send Snow White far away, hoping she would be forgotten. She called for a huntsman and demanded that he take Snow White into the forest and never let her return. The huntsman, however, was moved by Snow White's gentle spirit. Instead of harming her, he whispered, "Run, Snow White. Escape deep into the forest and never look back." Snow White ran through the whispering trees and tangled vines, her heart pounding with both fear and hope. The birds chirped comfortingly, and animals peeked from behind ferns, sensing her gentle nature. As darkness began to fall, Snow White stumbled upon a cozy cottage. Inside, everything was neat and tidy, but just the right size for someone much smaller than her. Tired and hungry, Snow White rested for a while, drifting into sleep. As the sun rose, 7 little dwarfs returned home from their work in the sparkling diamond mines. They were surprised to find someone asleep in their beds. With curiosity, they tiptoed closer. When Snow White awoke, she was startled, but the dwarfs quickly introduced themselves. Doc, Dopey, Bashful, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, and Sneezy. She told them her story, and the dwarfs, moved by her kindness, invited her to stay. "Our cottage will be your home too," said Doc. "But you must be careful. Don't let anyone in while we're away." For a time, Snow White found happiness in the little cottage. She cooked delicious meals, sang cheerful songs, and filled each day with laughter. The dwarfs loved her dearly, but back at the castle, the queen soon discovered that Snow White still lived. Furious, she brewed a potion and disguised herself as a kind old woman, determined to trick the princess. One bright morning, while the dwarfs were working, the queen arrived at the cottage, carrying a basket of shiny red apples. She knocked on the door and called out in a gentle voice, "Sweet child, would you like a tasty apple?" Snow White, trusting and kind, accepted the gift, but the first bite sent her into a deep, enchanted sleep, her dreams filled with memories of laughter and friendship. The dwarfs returned to find Snow White motionless. Heartbroken, they could not wake her, so they built a bed of glass and placed her in the sunlit forest, surrounded by blooming flowers. Days passed, and one day, a kind prince entered the woods. He had heard tales of a princess, with skin like snow and hair as black as midnight. When he saw Snow White, his heart filled with love. He gently brushed away a tear from her cheek, and as if by magic, Snow White awoke. The spell was broken. Grateful for the love and bravery of her friends, Snow White invited the dwarfs to live with her in the castle. Together, they created a home filled with laughter, kindness, and joy. And so Snow White, the 7 dwarfs, and the prince lived happily ever after, reminding everyone that true beauty comes from a kind and loving heart.